Hey everybody, Melissa June Raleigh reporting for Tech Zulu, live from the Indiegogo Tech Cafe. I'm here with Q Manning, CEO of Rocksauce Studios. How's your South by been so far?
South by's been great. You can tell by my voice. It's been really awesome. Lots of karaoke, lots of screaming and hollering. It's South by.
Lots of panels about wearables.
A lot of panels. This is definitely the wearable South by. It's everywhere.
I was just speaking with somebody about the wearable industry earlier. I mean, the ecosystem is small yet burgeoning. Like, do you all kind of people in the space that you're entering now? Are you collaborating a lot? Do you all kind of know what the other one is up to?
It's similar to the app space, and which is Rocksauce is mainly an app company who's also doing wearable stuff. The software for the wearables. It's similar that there's some collaboration, but there's also a significant amount of competition. So you don't want to give any of your secret sauce away, especially if you're working on a specific type of wearable. You don't want someone else to go, oh, that sounds great. Let me take my technology and make that exact same wearable.
So how long have you been actually creating apps for wearables now, and how much have you seen it change since you started up until
Well, I
now?
mean, the wearable app stuff is very new. I mean, wearables in general are very new, and it's similar to apps that you have entrepreneurs getting into the field, and just like with apps, they say, ooh, I've got an idea for a wearable. It's a very similar situation, and they come in and go, okay, I need this type of software. Can this even be done? Can we do this sort of thing? And I would say it's probably been no more than the last 6 months or so that we started getting those calls of people wanting to not just make an app, but to make an app that has a wearable component as well, but also to where they are willing to make a wearable component, right? Because previously everything had to be done on the phone. And so every app idea we had that came to us that was about movement or anything similar had to be built upon, okay, this is what the phone can do. If the phone can't do it, you don't get to do it. And now people are open to the concept of, oh, well, we'll just make a device that goes along with it. You can wear it wherever you want to wear it.
Yeah. But so what do you think it's going to take, since, I mean, it's growing and wearables are growing in our whole tech ecosystem and everything, but what's it going to take for the mainstream consumer, like in Iowa,
Right, yeah.
to start jumping on the whole wearable market and thinking it's cool for everyday consumers to start buying in?
One of the questions, we did a panel this morning on wearable technology called Tech Off Your Clothes. And that was one of the things that came off, was what's going to make your mom or your grandmother, what's going to make them say, oh, I need this technology? And I don't think any of us know what that killer app is yet. And I think we're all sort of still searching for what that is, and that's why you see so many different devices coming out. Again, some of the stuff we've worked on has been helping people with sleep problems. Obviously, the fitness wearable, that's a huge segment of it, and that seems to be what most people immediately want to do. But there's so much else out there that you can be done. I think it's going to be about finding a way to work it into what you're doing without you even thinking twice about it. So maybe it's not even necessarily in a device that you wear. Maybe it's in your clothes, it's in your jacket, it's in your shoes, actually built into your shoes, and they all interconnect with each other. But that technology is still a significant portion away from itself. So I think for it to actually get that adoption that everyone wants, the technology still has a long way to go, and we're going to have a lot of this middle of the road doing one or two little things at a time, unless, of course, Apple or Samsung comes up with something that we all have to have. And we won't know that for a year or two.
Right. What are some of the craziest or most imaginative wearables that you've heard about recently?
I mean, we did our panel with somebody from Wearable Experiments. Her name is Billy Whitehouse. She is a great fashion designer. One of the things that they'd built was for Durex, the condom company, and it's called Funderwear. And it is for a man and a woman. I'm a man, I put on my funderwear. You're a woman, you put on your bra and your panties. And if we're distances away from each other, we can use the application to be intimate with one another.
Right.
And we had a live demo on the stage.
That's not new, though. They had that with the wireless remote control.
Right.
And the women's underwear.
But this is literally, you could be in China and I could be here in the States and I can control it. It's through an application, so it uses Wi-Fi. So it's things like that. It's trying to find ways in which you're solving a problem, right? So ultimately, any technology has to solve a real problem. You can't just create tech for the purposes of creating tech. And I do see far too often that's what people do. They say, oh, I can do this, so I will do it. But that doesn't mean anybody wants it. And it's really what problems have to be solved with wearable technology. And I'm not sure if we're solving those problems yet, because we're more focused on what's going to be hot and sexy, not necessarily what are the problems people are really having. Like, I mean, a big issue with wearable tech could easily be poor people out in the field, farmers. They are dehydrated. something that lets them know, hey, you need to drink some water, or otherwise you're going to die, things like that. But there's not a lot of money in that, and it's not
Right.
very sexy. However, that's a great place that wearable tech could really take off and help a lot of people. But who's going to go in that field, right? And I'm not sure.
It's something that I think Bill Gates should probably.
He's got
get
the money.
behind
He
or
can,
something.
yes. He's got the money.
Well, he's always coming up with kind of like crazy things in agriculture that the tech industry could jump on board and
Yeah.
find real solutions to the problems. But until we get somebody to invest that kind of money.
But he may make everyone use a Windows phone. And so then you
Right.
have like 8 people, using the technology. So what are you going to do?
Exactly.
Sorry, Bill Gates. I love you, but nobody's using Windows phone.
So, do you feel like your company has changed much since you've added this on to your business, doing the
No.
software with wearables at all? Or
One of the things we do at Rocksauce is we do work for hire, and we do customized work. So that's our goal. We do stuff for Kubota, we do stuff for Academy and MapMyFitness, Polaris, companies like that. But we do a lot of appreneur projects, right? So it's like an individual that comes to us. But part of that is vetting. It's sitting down with that client and saying, look, again, I know you can build this, but should you build this? Is this a good enough idea? And so it's the exact same thing with the tech. We had somebody who wanted to do something with RFID and a certain sports device, right? And the question was, yes, we can build this. However, is the cost to put this technology in there now too prohibitive that somebody would actually go about actually buying this product? And that's the question. Now, not everybody will tell them that. A lot of people would just say, sure, give me that money and we'll just rock it. But what we're finding is that we're still solving the problems. We're still answering the hard questions and making them answer the questions back. But now it's more not just about apps. It's also about the hardware component that could go with it, whether that's a phone case, whether that's something they wear on their wrist or something else.
Mm-hmm. What do you find most useful? I mean, you're wearing a couple of things.
I am wearing a
right
couple
here.
of things, actually. I've got a Google Glass that I'm not wearing because it makes me look goofy, and people think I'm filming them like I'm a perv, and I'm not. I wear an Upband, and here at the Indiegogo Lounge, just day before yesterday, I won a Misfit, which is awesome. And so now I'm literally testing the two out, seeing which one I like better. For me, a lot of it comes back to the application itself. So what information is the app giving me? And then how does that tie into the APIs of other software I use, like MyFitnessPal and other things like that? So how do these apps all tie to each other to help me keep track of what I want to keep track of? Which for me right now, it's, my wife and I are both on a fitness track. We, lost about 65 pounds in the last year. So it's all about just trying to make it work into my life on a day-to-day basis and seeing which one works better for me.
When you're really using the data, you're actually
yeah.
really looking at it and
Yeah.
using it. I just wonder the population of people that are just doing it because, like you were saying, that people in Silicon Valley want to keep making these because they're really cool.
Oh, I have no doubt. I mean, when I bought this Upband, I bought another Upband, the first generation, actual second generation, and I had all these friends on the Up application, right? They all bought it as well. And then I bought this new one, and I logged back in because I stopped using it myself for a while. I was wearing it, but I wasn't really logging anything. And when I logged back in, none of them had used the application, in 6 months. And so it's a similar thing where, like any technology, is it just hot? Do we just buy it because we think it's cool? And then we don't actually find a way to work it into our lives. And again, with wearable stuff, it's a matter of, does it need to be a separate device that I have to think about? Or is it going to work better once it gets to actually be built in? Is it fabric-based? Is it organic-based maybe? And that's what's going to be really amazing. We have organic-based technology worked into our clothing.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been an entrepreneur now? How long have you been doing this?
Oh, God, about 5, 6 years. Yeah.
So you're still pretty new.
Yes, I'm definitely new,
yeah. What kind of advice can you, we're here, at the conference swarming with entrepreneurs. What kind of advice can you give to your fellow tech entrepreneur out there who's just starting out, who's just starting to kind of like share their baby with the world? And some people are probably telling them it's ugly, and some people are telling them it's great. And we're just talking, like, what does it take to get that first round? You're just kind of like, like climbing uphill for a while at first.
Build the smallest thing you can. One of the things we always focus on is what's called an MVP, a minimum viable product. If you look at Instagram, if you look at Dropbox, if you look at Airbnb, all these success stories we all know, they started off with a small product, went after the target audience. They had to pivot, be ready to pivot, and change whatever your idea is to fit the market. Because at the end of the day, it's not about you trying to cram your idea down someone's throat.
Right.
It's really about, does the market want what you have? And they may love a piece of what you have, but don't waste a bunch of time, effort, and money making something perfect for 2.5 years only to find out that 90% of what you made nobody cares about, which again is exactly what happened to Instagram.
Remember, I think maybe not 2 to 3 years ago, I was seeing so many platforms that were just combinations of one another, 5 different things in one, or slimmed down versions of
Right.
something that was larger. Are you still seeing that? Are you still seeing like everybody trying to just squeeze out
Yeah,
a new idea from everybody else's?
Everybody tries to do the same thing at the same time, which is really interesting. It happens in film. They say we pull. They say we pull it from the ether, right? It's this. We see certain things, and there's an impetus in society that makes creative people go, "Ooh, I want to make something that solves that problem." I think if South by is actually a beautiful thing to watch because you can see the different technologies. Each South by, you can look back at a South by and go, "Oh, that was the year that the private messaging grouping stuff was huge. There was like 3 or 4 of those tech startups." And again, this year is going to be the Wearable South by. Years from now, people remember that's the one where they had 46 different panels and everybody was talking about wearables. And what we find is they all sort of do it at the same time and they lump it together. And I think it comes back to the same advice, which is make sure what you're building is a solution that people want. Make sure that you've actually talked to people. You want to find out if they can use it. We're vetting ideas all the time at Rocksauce. We have our own products we want to make. And that's the deal. We come up with ideas, but we have to ask ourselves, is someone going to use this product? I can give it to them, but are they going to go, you know what, that doesn't fit into my day-to-day life. That doesn't fit into my mental state. I'm not going to use this. Make sure your product you're building is actually something people want. And that can be just as easy as creating the smallest version and asking people, would you use this? And they tell you no. Don't keep going down the road. They're not all lying to you. They're telling you don't go down this road, and we all fail. Eventually, we succeed.
What are you? I just have one more question. When you're in the vetting process, people are coming to you with their ideas. Do you have a certain system or protocol, like a certain list of questions you ask, you go through with your team to say, you check things off, or is it more of an instinct that you feel when you're being pitched?
By this point, it's definitely an instinct thing. We ask certain questions. Obviously, one of the first one is, what networks do you want to connect to? How big do you want it to be? It's going to have a back end. Those are things that are cost drivers, right? And then we find out what their budget is and whether they can afford it. But a lot of times, there's certain ideas that we will get every single month, no matter what it is, over and over again. And we know right away what that's going to be. What we do is we take it back to our team. We do what's called a whiteboarding session at Rocksauce. We do them twice a week. We bring in the ideas from the clients. We chat about them. Figure out if it's viable, what the cost could be, and then we go back to the client with it. And a lot of times what we go back with is a very simple, this isn't necessarily the right thing to build. I know you love this idea. We can take this core concept, get your spirit across, but maybe we lose these couple of features. Unfortunately, everybody loves their darlings, and I do understand that.
You're calling their baby
ugly.
Right,
Exactly,
basically.
You are. But and as a filmmaker, maybe it's part of it that you learn in filmmaking really early on to kill your darlings, right? If you're writing a script and you have a line that you think is so precious and awesome, but it's just clunky in the script reading, you kill it. You don't keep it in there because it sounds great. You get rid of it because it's in the way. Same thing with apps, same thing with anything. Get rid of all the rough edges, streamline it, and try to make the best thing you can that can actually be successful.
Yeah. Very good advice.
All right.
We're out of time. Do you have any? Question. Question from the audience.
Question from the audience, yeah.
What's the biggest technological hurdle facing wearables?
Facing wearables, that's going to be getting adoption. Finding a way in which you are doing something different that people actually want, and then getting them to wear it in the first place. That's just, people don't want to walk around with technology on them necessarily. And there's this weird thing about fashion. So does it look good enough? And does it look good enough for multiple demographics? And is it solving the goals of what you want? And is it different? So there's a lot of stuff in wearables. It's also trying to find a manufacturer to create that initial prototype. If you're looking to build one, who's that first person that's going to make that prototype for you so you can get some user testing, then go find an investor to say, okay, here's all my data. These are all the people I've used it on. It works. Now will you give me the 5 million, 10 million I need to actually go to production on this? And that's a big hurdle for a lot of wearable makers.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Is
Cool.
there anything that you'd like to add about Rocksauce before we sign off?
Not necessarily. We just launched our new website, new branding. We just did that after a couple of years. And if you're looking to make a product, come to us. We'll be honest with you. If your idea is bad, we'll tell you, and we'll help you try to make something good that you can afford.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.